Hello and welcome to my new series. Oh, an enemy see me. Quiet, I'm trying to do an introduction. Thank you. Called Moral Dilemmas, in which I begin by shooting someone because he interrupted me. In this series, I'll go through some of the moral decisions that games have posed to us, and go through what I think the best and worst options are and why. I will steal some stuff from this decapitated corpse also. I don't need that. In this first episode we will be looking at the question of which sheriff is best for Primm, which I think is the first moral decision that you're really given in this game. Primm is a medium-sized town along the I-15. Makes its living by serving those who are wishing to make their fortune heading to the Strip. However, Primm finds itself under attack by a group known as the Powder Gangers, who are escaped convicts from a nearby correctional facility. Drugs. And during that attack, Primm's sheriff is killed. And so once the player has dealt with those powder gangers, they are asked by the townspeople to find a new sheriff to replace him. And this is where our dilemma comes in, because we have three different options as to who the new sheriff can be. I feel that two of the options are actually pretty good. I think one could choose either one without worrying too much that they've made the wrong call. But one of the options I think is terrible. The first and nearest choice for new sheriff is Primm Slim. Primm Slim is a Protectron cowboy thing that currently works inside one of the casinos in Primm. The second option are the NCR, who are the largest military organization in the wasteland. And the final option is Sheriff Mayers. Now, out of these three options, by far the worst one is the sheriff here. Which might sound strange. Why is someone who clearly has work experience the worst one by far? Well, because he was a sheriff. He was fired and imprisoned by the NCR for executing vigilante justice. For him, the law and evidence, well, they just don't move fast enough. Now, don't get me wrong, one can certainly see his point. There are often cases, even in the real world, where evidence is kind of hard to find, and so it's hard to determine whether someone really did do what they're being accused of or not. And I would imagine that in the wasteland, evidence is even harder to come across. So his brand of justice will certainly catch more perpetrators than either of the other two options. But he's also going to incriminate and likely kill or harm many people who are innocent. And as far as I'm concerned, that is a much worse option. You see, there is a quote that goes, "You are the easiest person in the world to fool." That is because we have biases like confirmation bias and cognitive dissonance. It's very hard for us to actually change our minds on a subject. As much as we like to think that we're rational and we make our decisions based on reason and logic, in reality, we don't. Most of our decisions are made by emotion. And this is very easily co-opted and misinformed. So I feel that Sheriff Mayers fails at the most fundamental and important aspect of being a lawbringer, of being a sheriff. And therefore, I believe he is by far the worst and only real bad option that you can choose here. Next we'll look at the best option. Primm Slim. Oh, a robot friend from earlier. Let me put the light on because it's very dark in here. Oh, he's got little cowboy boots on. Yeah. Now, Primm Slim certainly isn't going to have the problem that Mayers was going to have, where Mayers was easily tricked by his own emotions and his own biases. Primm Slim's a robot. He will calculate the evidence and facts and wait until he has all the information that he requires before he makes a decision. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand that there are problems with rule-based systems and they tend not to work perfectly, and if you need nuance at any point in time or you need to make a more complex decision, Primm Slim is not the individual for the job. I would recommend that Primm get a council together of the leaders of the different casinos and shops and sectors of the town so that they can make any complex decisions that the sheriff probably would have made beforehand. Combat-wise, Primm Slim is a machine coated, therefore, in metal. He's got high-tech laser weaponry, so he's a reasonable threat to any small force that might intend to attack or harm the citizens of Primm. Primm Slim is, after all, a protectron. He is designed and built before the war to protect small areas, and it's relatively easy to get him to extend his area from the casino to the entirety of Primm. And that leads us to the second best option, the NCR. Now, the NCR combat-wise, I would say are by far the best. As good as one high-tech robot is, an entire platoon of soldiers is far better. On top of this, they would be better than Primm, and certainly far better than Mayers, in doling out law and justice. The NCR are quite accustomed to implementing law and order, and whilst they're not perfect by any means, they do intend and usually achieve reasonable balance between both law and order. So why is it that the NCR are not as good as Slim, since they're far better combatants and they're going to be better at making the decisions that need to be made? Well, the reason for that is the problem with the NCR as a whole. The NCR are expanding too fast. Not only are they fighting the problems of the wasteland like radiation and creatures, but they're fighting wars against Brotherhood of Steel, the Enclave, and the Legion. This is stretching their resources. And hello, McGee. Across the entirety of the NCR territory, we can see that they're struggling with troops and supplies, and a place like Primm isn't going to be the most important place for them. I accept that to begin with, they're probably going to send a whole platoon out of maybe 5 soldiers or so, like they have right outside Primm right now. But I don't think they're going to last. I think in no time at all, that number's going to diminish. In fact, you can see 2 of the members of the NCR who would otherwise occupy Primm wandering around the wasteland throughout the game. So clearly, some of these soldiers are already earmarked for another location. So you've gone down from 5 to only 3 soldiers, which leaves you with approximately 1 or 2 in the day and 1 at night. Well, in that case, I think defensively Primm Slim is a better option. And on top of this, you have the problem of taxes. The NCR are draining resources and money from the settlements that they protect. And so they are going to cost more and more for Primm to be able to afford. And we hear all the time of the taxes getting steep and yet pay for contractors getting lower and lower. Whilst Primm Slim is completely free. You set him up and he'll protect the town. Ad infinitum. Now still, having the NCR, a couple of soldiers in the town, protecting it, giving law, is still better than no law at all, even with the cost. So there you have it. That's my opinion on both morally and practically the best and worst options for Primm. The worst being Myers, then the NCR, and the best being Primm Slim. Until next time, good luck and have fun.